TalkGrenada.com.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
My enemies' walls are bound to crumble, and to the floor their spears will fall. I've been made and sealed with love, but time to battle, I'll find them all. I felt the whips and remember chains, but my sword has been forged by my father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and victory will be in your name.
I used to be weak, but I'm not weak no more. I found the strength of my ancestors deep down in my African core. I used to be frightened, I'm not afraid no more. The Father blessed me with the heart of a lion and a warrior soul. So no weapon that form against us shall not prevail. And no man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer. Yes I will conquer them. Come on let's conquer, oh I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them.
Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David told Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When my cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contract, rip it up. And if your bad mind people to go meet it up, pass me the Congo drum and let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up.
So no weapon that form against us shall not prevail. And no man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer. Yes I will conquer them. Come on let's conquer, oh I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them.
I want to say thank you, Lord. You're everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to fail. And remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wound of life. Send down your warriors with the hello. Be carried on to the end of days. No matter how the devil tries trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this storm is coming. I can see the high tide rage. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we is my soul?
No weapon that form against us shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, oh I will conquer. Yes I will conquer them. Come on let's conquer, oh I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them.
I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and PG Martinique. You are listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM, 91.9 and 91.5 Real FM Radio, 92.9 Spice Isle Radio, broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course those of you in the diaspora tuning in to 94.9 We Noise Radio. Good morning to all of you joining us on the live video, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. A very special good morning to you. It is a pleasure being here once again on this very quiet Friday afternoon. And I say quiet because it's very still outside, very calm. And I know that we are all preparing, we are all listening to the news, we are all looking for updates from NADMA on what is expected to happen as it relates to this tropical storm Gonzalo, right? There are a lot of schools of thought, a lot of projections as to where it is expected to go, but it is still a bit early to really predict. And really we can only predict because Mother Nature will do what Mother Nature wants to do. All right? So the most we can advise is that you prepare. Stay calm. Don't panic, but prepare. And as we discussed yesterday, preparation can come in many different ways. All right. For some of you, it may be the clearing of your drains and so on in front of your homes. Some of you, it may be shopping for items that you don't have, that you need. For others, it may be battening down your windows. And for some, it may be moving to higher ground because you are in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding. For others, it may be moving from the higher ground that you are in because it may be prone to landslides or slippages. So whatever form of preparation that you are doing at this point or that you have identified that needs to be done, do so wisely. Next to me in studio, I have Mr. Roland Bola. Good morning, Mr. Bola.
Good morning to you, Ms. Duncan. Good morning to the listening public. It's again a pleasure to be here with you today.
Well, Mr. Bola, this morning we're talking preparation. Once again, there are a few minor little things that we want to touch on, but more so the preparation for Tropical Storm Gonzalo. There has been an 8 a.m. Update. For those of you who have not yet heard it, I'm going to take this opportunity to read that to you. I'm also waiting the arrival of some information regarding the shelters, the approved shelters, and also the rules regarding COVID-19 for shelters. So there are rules and regulations that govern these shelters under the COVID-19 protocols. So I'm awaiting that information. But in the meantime, I'm going to take this opportunity to read to you the 8 o'clock update that came from NADMA. Just a moment here, and I'll pull that up for you. But Mr. Bola, have you been doing any preparing?
I've done the little that I need to in terms of procurement of some food stuff, dry stuff, little creeks and other things, water. Make sure that we have some stored. We have at home couple of, I think 2 or so solar lights. Mm-hmm. When I got home yesterday afternoon, they were out in the sun being charged. So the wife and daughter, they are doing preparation likewise.
Okay.
The one thing that I did not get yesterday, the first store that I went to, they didn't have was the batteries, and I completely forget. So today I just have to pick up a couple pairs for 2 flashlights, and I hope and pray that nothing comes our way. But if it should,
You're
I hope
prepared.
that, well, just not me, but I hope that Grenadians in general are taking this thing serious, not as a passing joke. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we feel, and it is okay to feel that way because we think, we've been blessed. I believe we are blessed, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. That is my mantra. It's better to be safe than to be sorry. And I'm going to read here because I have it with me now the tropical weather outlook from the Meteorological Services, Maurice Bishop International Airport as of 8 a.m. And remember, there should be another release at about 11. So hopefully we get that in time to share that with you. And it says for tropical North Atlantic Ocean, Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, area of special interest, 10 to 20 degrees north and 45 to 65 degrees west. Now, remember yesterday, before I continue with that, I have to remind them of the little geography we did yesterday, that Grenada sits at just a little over 12 degrees north and a little over 61 degrees west. All right. So it reads, Gonzalo forecast to bring tropical storm conditions to the southern Windward Islands on Saturday. The location of Gonzalo as of 8 o'clock this morning is 10 degrees north, 52.8 degrees west, about 580 miles east of the southern Windward Islands. Maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. Present movement west. So it's still heading due west, right? Or 275 degrees at 15 miles per hour. So yesterday it was at 12. It moved from 12 to 13. Now it's at 15 miles per hour. So it's picking up a little more speed than it was at yesterday. It also goes on to say tropical storm watch is in effect for Grenada. A tropical storm watch means that tropical storm conditions are possible within the watch area. In the watch area within 36 hours. Forecast track intensity and impact says that the center of tropical storm Gonzalo is forecast to move across the Windward Islands on Saturday afternoon, the center near 12 degrees north, 59 degrees west at 2 p.m. With maximum sustained winds of 65 kilohertz, I believe. What is it?
It normally goes at 65 miles per hour.
Right. Storm force winds are expected to arrive as early as Saturday morning over the Lesser Antilles. Weather models suggest the center of the storm will pass between Grenada and St. Vincent. However, due to the model uncertainty, it is possible that it can pass as a low as the south of Grenada to as high as the north of St. Lucia as a strong tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane. Tropical storm Gonzalo is expected to bring cloudy and very windy conditions with moderate and heavy showers and thunder showers to Grenada by Saturday morning into the afternoon, with possible flooding and or landslides in areas prone. All right, and another advisory is expected to come out at 11. So, Mr. Bola, what does that mean for us? It means that we are still uncertain. There is still a bit of uncertainty with the model. It's still a little too soon to say, well, it's going to pass here exactly, or it's going to pass there. And I mean, there's probably never going to be a very precise model because it's Mother Nature, Very unexpected things happen when we're dealing with Mother Nature. And that is why we continue to advocate for preparedness. Prepare, so you're never caught off guard. Mr. Bola, did you get an opportunity to speak with the representative yesterday regarding that?
No, regarding that drain. But I presume that today will be best because we are supposed to be in each other's company by 3 o'clock this afternoon at an engagement in La Poterie.
Okay.
And I will take the opportunity then to have that conversation with her. So I haven't forgotten, but I just did not bother call her on telephone yesterday because I knew of the engagement for today.
Okay.
But just getting back to what you would have read a moment ago as the 8 o'clock update. There was something interesting there that said on its present coast, if it maintains that, by 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon, the center of the hurricanes,
The storm.
The storm. Sorry,
If it remains a storm.
If it remains a storm, right, and hopefully it won't go with greater strength to become a Category 1 hurricane. But it said that it should pass between Grenada and St. Vincent. Now, when you look at the distance between Grenada and St. Vincent, it's not very much. But secondly, it did say something in the forecast. It did say something that the center will pass 59 degrees
west and 20
and 12
and 12 degrees, 12 exact degrees
right.
north.
And Grenada is lying about 12.2 or something.
Six, I think.
Yeah, degrees north and 61 west. That gives a kind of indication that if Gonzales remains on its present course, definitely, without a doubt, from what we know now, and we keep saying that there's always a possibility that there can be changes. This is a natural disaster.
Right.
And you are so correct in saying that there may ever be a precise reading because you can only read what is before you at the time. And as time goes, these systems changes. Yes? Between now and midnight tonight or this afternoon, it may just take a different course.
Correct.
Totally different to where it is now. But based on everything that is being said, it appears that we are in for some wind and some rain. Yes? And hence the reason we're saying to people, just be prepared. Take all the necessary precautions you should, make all the necessary arrangements that you know you can, be prepared to move if you have to. It's just about knowing what your next step will be.
Yeah.
So if suddenly there is an announcement that we are under warning instead of watch, that it's impending to hit, you know what next you should do. Your family will know what next they should do. And that would be the case because you did sit with your family, or the family had a meeting and decided step 1, 2, 3, these are the things that we will do. Where we are, normally in heavy downpours, we flood. There's a possibility that our house can be flooded. So we may move to put things on the table, on the bed, take them off the floor, and move off to a shelter, to a neighbor, to higher ground, as you've said. Just making the necessary arrangements and putting the plans in place. That, I believe, is important for people to do. And I want to remind the listening public, we are discussing this topic and we are advising and saying those things not to create scare and panic. Please. People may think, well, why are they dwelling on that issue so much? It is simply because we do not want, after the fact, should something happen, to hear, well, oh, if only I had known, or this person said they never knew, or that person said, well, the news didn't reach me. We are saying to people, please take heed. Please take heed. Listen to the official broadcast and the news. Listen to what NADMA has to say and act accordingly. Yes?
Yeah.
You don't have to run helter-skelter like chickens when they see the enemy coming, but you can plan appropriately, make the necessary arrangements, including having a family meeting so that everybody is on the same page and everybody knows where they're going, what they're doing, what should happen should the eventuality come. Yes?
Yeah.
That's what we want to advise. So you are not taken by surprise. Thank God, if nothing happens, we would be more than joyful and grateful. Because under the circumstances where we are now, COVID-19, the fact that government revenue collection is below par, and we're trying to re-engage and to get the economy moving once again, it will be more than tragic if we should have a direct hit
It would be.
from this storm,
Yeah.
or if it eventually grows into a hurricane, and it should hit us directly and create damages of any significance.
Yeah.
It means that we'd be set back again tremendously. Now, I have no control over whether it will come or not. You doesn't have any control, not the Prime Minister, not the government. Nature will take its course.
Yeah.
But if we can minimize the losses and the damage and the negative effects by being prepared, we can say at least after its passage, we can restart because we were prepared. We did what we had to do or what we could have done to minimize the level of damage and so that could take place. But
And you know, we say that okay, it's projected to pass between Grenada and St. Vincent. So that mean we ain't gonna get nothing. That's you know, the thought might be of some people, but you have to also take into consideration that while it is possible that we may not get a direct hit, we will see some adverse effects, some rain, some winds, and so on. And there are still people who might be affected. You know, trees may fall. Power lines may go down as a result of that. There may be land slippages. We just don't know. You know, if it's one thing you don't take for granted, it's nature. You know, because nature will behave how nature wants to behave. So you cannot take that for granted. So we must, as much as is possible, prepare, make the necessary preparations. And I encourage each and every single one of us to ensure that our neighbors are also prepared, to ensure that people in our constituencies, our communities, our villages with disabilities, people who are shut-ins, as they call them, living alone, people, elderly people as well. You want to make sure that their needs are met as well. It's called doing your civil duty, you know, your civic duty. Doing your civic duty is not about complaining alone when government does something, but it's about helping your neighbor, helping people in society who need the necessary help, and you are able to provide that you can do that as well. You know, if you run into St. George today and you know of a shut-in that may need some medication, you know, because they might say, well, what are we doing all of that for? We ain't getting a hit. You never know. What if the roads, if there is a landslide and we can't get through for 2 days or something like that? You just don't know. You can't be sure. So you have to prepare. It is necessary for us to prepare. Absolutely necessary.
Well, I don't know how better can we say it or how much more can we say, but I do really hope that those who are listening, that they will take heed, but more importantly, that they will share it with those who have not heard it before. But I think the writing is on the wall. The weather forecast has forecast that it's quite possible that we may be hit by this weather system, and if not a direct hit, one of the things that it did not say, and sometimes you get that information, is how widespread it is. You know, from the center, the bandwidth of the wind.
Right.
You know, sometimes some of these systems, they tell you the speed of the wind 60 miles per hour. The speed that it's traveling is about 15 miles per hour, which is rather slow. Huh?
Yeah.
So it means that it's taking its time to come through. Sometimes people say, boy, if it's going to hit, we like when it hit with a faster speed. If it's traveling 30 or 40 miles per hour, it passes whoosh, you know, quick. But when it's coming at 10 and 12 miles per hour, it's, you know, it's like you're following a dead horse. So it's really slow. It gets more time to do its damage. But and then they sometimes tell you, well, the span from the center is 20 miles or 30 miles. because that gives you a better appreciation of if the center of the storm, or the eyes as we say, isn't directly over you but close to you. You know that 20 miles inland or 15 miles or 10 miles whatsoever, you will feel serious effect because the wind speed, not the speed, sorry, but the wind span is that way. But as it is, we say, please just take heed, do what you are expected to do, whatever preparation you need to make, whatever plans you need to put in place, do that, so in the event that it actually comes. We're also awaiting contact from a gentleman who is presently in a meeting associated with NADMA, who promised that once that meeting is concluded, should it conclude before we go off air, we'll get a little update from what the plans are. And of course, it's just about spreading the information. But I say no more on it until we get new information, Ms. Duncan, because you don't want people to think that you're scaring them, but we are just urging.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Bola, we have to speak about an issue that is brewing, and I want us to take some time to just, looking for the right word, to break it down, if we can. You being a former parliamentarian might have a more clear idea of what this means for us as a people, so we could start discussing it, because there are a few people out there who are advocating for there to be some sort of a uprising or a riot to protest against it. And, I really want to play the clip in Mr. Bola. You find I should play the clip?
I'm not even sure what you're speaking about. So.
Somebody sent me a clip this morning of a gentleman asking people to riot against the announcement that we are possibly looking at an extended state of emergency. It was something that was carried over many of the news media houses, where the Prime Minister made mention of there being a possibility of there being an extended state of emergency. Now, some people are upset. Some people are saying that this is some way or some means in which the government can control the people or have control over the people. What are your thoughts on an extended state of emergency, given the current circumstances?
But whatever news item you heard, did the news item say there will be or there is a possibility? Because that is the word that we need to take into context. A possibility means it may or may not. And what will cause it? It is dependent on how we, the citizens, act as it relates to the COVID-19 protocol. Because COVID-19 is what, in the first place, caused there to be a state of emergency. Yes?
Right.
Now, we notice how it happened. We came from total lockdown to easements bit by bit until we get to the stage where there is no longer a curfew. So we had a 24-hour curfew where you had to stay inside. The authorities keep lifting and cutting it back by 2 hours until it was off totally. What do we see happening when the curfew was removed? That even though the curfew wasn't there, but there were still protocols that we needed to follow. Like, for example, it is mandatory that once you're leaving your premises, that you carry with you some kind of face covering or a face mask. Are we all obeying that protocol? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. There are quite a lot of us who are doing it, but there are still many others who feel there is not a need for it. Physical distancing, it is still a protocol that is in place. And I mean, we don't have to go very far to see that when we disregard the advice given to us by medical experts and people who knows what is happening with this virus, we can only simply look at the United States, a country that most of us in Grenada, not all of us, but most of us, always look to for examples of what they are doing to pattern what we do after them. As it is now, when COVID-19 came around in the very early stages, there was only one state in the US, New York, that was under, if we want to use the word attack, severe attack from COVID-19. That is where you were hearing cases on a daily basis hitting the hundreds and at one time the thousands. That is where the deaths per day was hundreds plus. Today, as we speak, there are 39 states in the US that are hitting hundreds of cases daily. The present rate of infection or number of people based on the records in the US that has been affected is over 3 million. They're heading towards the 4 million mark. Yes? There are over 140 something thousand people recorded as being or losing their life as a result of COVID. So we must listen and look at what is happening around us.
Yep.
I mean, Russia is a long way from us, but they too are seeing a resurgence. Iran, Brazil. These are countries that had a first round and dealt with it.
Yeah.
But now they're seeing a resurgence. It is not impossible for us to see something similar happening in Grenada if we do not take the necessary precautions and follow the protocols.
But we also have to make a differentiation, Mr. Bowler, because when people hear state of emergency, they immediately relate it to there being a curfew. And that is not necessarily what it is. Well, actually, it's not what it is. There are two different things. The curfew can happen under a state of emergency, but the state of emergency is the environment that provides for these decisions to be made.
To be made, yes.
You know, and I want to read the exact quote of the Prime Minister when he mentioned it. And he said, until a vaccine is found, I don't think that we should lift the emergency situation completely. The protocols are still in place, and therefore you have to have a legal status for any such law that is implemented. Right. All right. The present situation that we are in is we need it until a vaccine is found. I don't see us removing it, and those were his words.
Okay. So that's the state of emergency.
State of emergency.
Right. Because in a state of emergency, the cabinet can implement rules or laws that will be effective.
Right.
Without a state of emergency, you would have to go to parliament to legislate.
Correct.
These laws. So the state of emergency is like giving you a fast track into getting law and order. And most of the time under a state of emergency, the police are the ones who seem to have or be given the authority,
right,
to and a legal mind will explain it with legal terminology, which would be a little different.
Right.
Yes? But I think now that you have read what the Prime Minister said, he is saying that, look, until we have total control, we have a vaccine, we know exactly how this thing operates, because there's still a lot of studies. It's still a learning process.
Of course.
For the medical experts, for the scientists, for the people who are dealing with COVID-19. It is not a case where everything is known.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of unknowns. So I think in essence, and I don't want to speak for the Prime Minister, but in essence what he's saying is that we still need to keep our minds open to the fact that new regulations may or can come on board depending on how things progress with COVID-19.
But also it gives the power to enforce the protocols under that were formed under the situation of COVID-19.
Certainly.
And I am going to play, Mr. Bola, this short clip for you to hear. And we're going to, because we keep talking about this here, that there are a few people out there who would, for any reason, use people's emotions to get a little political mileage. Now, I see the benefit of the state of emergency. I understand the context in which they propose an extension, right? Because
But was it proposed? I don't.
Well,
even
it has
think
not yet been proposed.
It was not proposed.
What is happening?
He just commented
on
that, in his opinion,
it should remain.
It remain until we have some definite, answer to the problem that exists, that caused you to have a case of emergency in the first place.
Right, and that is understandable. Now, the current regulation as it stands, the current state of emergency, will expire on the 5th of August.
Yes.
Which means that after the 5th of August, if we do not institute an extension, it means that things go back to normal. Everybody go about their business doing whatever it is they want to do. They don't must wear masks. They don't must... You understand? Mm-hmm. So in order for us to combat COVID-19, we need this state of emergency, and it's a limited state of emergency, really, because it's not telling you, okay, this is exactly what you have to do. Everybody stay inside, don't move, this kind of thing. But it also gives us the flexibility to move as the virus moves, So tomorrow we wake up and we hear of a possible community spread, that the cabinet doesn't have to go to Parliament and waste hours of time in Parliament trying to pass these regulations all over again, because we are already in a state of emergency, Mm-hmm. And there are people out there who are making this thing sound as if, they're telling us a state of emergency so they could tell us what to do and keep us under control. And it's very sad, because in doing that, you are trying to gain support and gain political mileage. But at the end of the day, what you are also doing is risking the lives of ordinary Grenadians. And these things upset me, because I don't see why is this necessary? You don't have to like government and agree with government and like Dr. Mitchell and agree with everything he says, but you must see the benefit in this,
Well, I don't think you need to get angry, because people have the right to oppose, and they certainly will. I mean, you should do it sensible. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There should be good sense in why you are opposing something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but remember, they do have the right. So if there's that clip that needs to be played, yes, let the public hear, not just me.
Yeah, the public. I'm going to play it so that the public can listen to what is being said or what is being put out there for people to hear and make decisions on.
Friends, I hope we know we have to start to resist this kind of long-term state of emergency nonsense that I see the Prime Minister trying to promote there. I'm not for that at all, and I hope somebody talks some good sense into this man at this point in time, because I mean, you all know me, you know where my politics is, but I mean, apart from that, I just don't trust that situation at all. You understand, this government is just too much with the excesses and so on. We need to send a clear message to these guys. When that state of emergency is up, it's up. Right? Unless we have some serious emergency here that we have to deal with, they have to stop it.
All right, Mr. Bola, that was the clip.
Yeah, I heard it, but I did not hear in it the case.
As to why
we
should stop it and resist it.
Resist it. You see, he talked about excesses, but what are the excesses? What are the excesses that you can identify during the period now, from the time a state of emergency was declared to present? Mm-hmm. What has happened in Grenada, or what has the authorities, those who has been empowered by the state of emergency to function, what has they done
That is excessive.
that is excessive or that had made the lives of Grenadians much more difficult than it was before the state of emergency?
All right. We have a call on the line, Mr. Bola. Let's take this call quickly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, Miss Duncan,
Hi, good morning.
and good morning to my good friend, Mr. Bula.
Yes, if you say
Who
I'm
I
your good
didn't-
friend, I know who it is.
Huh?
Good morning. Once you say
Who
I'm your good friend,
who
I
I
know.
did not hear and sit and able to touch for the longest time.
You're hearing me
Since
all
the
the time,
COVID,
man.
You refuse to touch me.
I haven't seen you since then, but you just hear me all the time. When you hear me on Hard Talk, you hear me by Andre. You just always call and say, well, you believe and you agree with what I say, and when you disagree, you say you disagree. But we're still friends.
No, it's the first time I'm getting through on the program now since the Miss Duncan is on,
Yes.
and I'm getting through to Real FM.
Mm-hmm.
Real FM. But I listened to the clip that the lady just played it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is time that the government realize that there are people orchestrated definitely out there as to destabilize every move of the government.
Yeah.
And the government ought to be aware of that. The voice you heard, you would know him. The statement he make, you would understand where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually say, all you know what my politics is. So he tell you definitely the statement he's making is a political statement and have nothing to do with the rules and regulations of the COVID.
Yes.
He made that clear that you all know his politics is. So he tell you in short words that he's speaking politics. These are the things, Mr. Bola, that the party and government must get on top. You cannot allow people to continue making their political... You can't stop them, but you must be in a position to put remedy to them immediately.
Yes, sir.
Because these people are out there. They are spreading those rumors to make the political mileage. And there are people that when they hear the first piece of statement, they believe it.
Mm-hmm.
When you come with the truth, it is hard to get the truth across.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be very careful about that. There are times when it's very, very hard. Whatever you say, nobody wants to listen to you because you didn't get that message across to them in time. What you all are doing there is good, but we need more of that from the government side and from the party side when we have these people who are bent and orchestrated. And Sundays I listen to the NDC program, and 3/4 of the program is trying to destabilize the government, telling you everything that the government do what is wrong. And the aim of that is to make sure that you can get people antagonized to clear the way for them.
Yes.
And we have to be careful because they're not concerned about Grenada at this time. You know. They're concerned about clearing the way
Yeah.
for them. Let's see how we could bad talk them. Let's see how we could say things that is wrong so that people, when it's going to go out there, people will believe. It is a hard job. It is not an easy job. But I'm telling you, there are people bent. I am dealing with them. I am meeting them day by day. Day by day I'm meeting them. I am in full support of the Prime Minister not having carnival and not allowing the day to be a holiday. I am fully in support. We will get criticism. There are some people again on radio who call themselves hosts of radio programs, who are orchestrating and intimidating people to want to play mass. This is something that the government must get on top of again. You can't have people who are these jockeys and who hosted program doing those things.
Inciting
You
violence.
are hearing them
Yeah.
promoting and saying what should be done. And these people are hosting programs on radio, national radio. We have to come above these things. Otherwise, it's going to reflect back on the state. Because the main aim in these people is to get rid of the government by any means. Understand that and take that for seriousness. Their main aim is to get rid of the government by any means. That was a policy of the party already. It was said by one of the political leaders, we will do everything in our power to make sure that we make governing unpleasant for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was word that was said. Mr. Boland know it.
Yes,
Call
yes.
it in the campaign. Please, don't sit back on those things. Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you too. That's a caller who has an understanding of what is happening. And of course, as we've said in the beginning, one of the things that they can't do, and I really hope government will never do, is to muzzle people from talking.
Yeah.
That's a right that is enshrined in the Constitution of the land, and people must be allowed to speak. But when you speak in terms that incite and encourages and promotes violence and disorder, and so I think there are laws in the land that also deals with those things.
Yeah.
And of course, we need to continue to sensitize people, to let people know what is facts from fiction. So if you're saying that they're excessives and what are the excessives?
Point them out.
Point out the excessive. What has the government done during the period of an emergency that has infringed on the rights and the basic rights of the citizenry of the country? I don't know. I've never heard of any complaint. I have not heard anyone speak out against any excesses. They have always been the least used with the police and how they operate. Sometimes people think that they may have been robbed the wrong way from time to time. These issues are being reported. The Commissioner of Police has always gave an undertaking that once any report gets to him, that they will independently and as respectfully as possible investigate the varying matters and deal with it, whatever the problems are. But we are not in a country where there is dictatorial rule. We are not in a country where the cabinet ministers goes around pushing themselves on people and bossing people around. We still live like good Christian people. And whatever is being done, it is, in my opinion, for the protection of the Grenadian citizenry.
All right. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan.
Hi, good morning.
Mr. Bola,
How are you,
good
sir?
morning to you.
A pleasant morning to you.
Well, I am doing okay because I'm not looking out for hurricane.
God bless you, good
at
soul.
this point. So I am doing okay. Yes, I want to address a couple of things. One, as it relates to that tape you played a while ago. Now, personally, and this is my personal opinion,
Yes.
don't know, and I'm not in agreement with this extended or drawn-out state of emergency for Grenada. This is my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
However, how the gentleman brought across the thing, it suggests violence or riot, and I think that should be taken care of because I don't think under the laws of Grenada anyone should be allowed to incite these type of riots. Mm-hmm. Okay? That is my personal opinion. If the government wants to pass laws, make mass mandatory and stuff, that's all good for me. You understand? Mm-hmm. But I personally don't see that because I've been looking at and I listened to that GBN program the other morning, and it kind of raised questions in my head, and this is my personal opinion. Also, it suggested to me in that statement also that what the government is looking for is a mandatory vaccine when it is approved. The thing is now, the people who actually make the vaccine don't even know when they're going to come up with a vaccine. So then you're speaking about a state of emergency for at least maybe 2-3 years, whatever, we don't know. But put that aside and let people know this is just my personal thinking.
Yes, we understand.
What I'm not hearing is we were promised to get information concerning national health insurance, and now with this thing, with this COVID thing, it's needed more than ever because you have people who would have pre-existing conditions who after this, maybe they would come down with it, we're not sure. After that, things going to get worse. I mean, financially, it's going to be hard for them. You need to get medication and stuff. I know Grenada is moving in a different direction. I mean, right now, it's all nice. I mean, you can go into the hospital, you get surgeries, you get everything, but it seems to be moving in a different direction, and I'm not hearing anything about that. I'm not sure if that is off the table or not. So I would like the Minister of Health, whenever he hosts a conference, a meeting again, a media briefing, to address us concerning that, because this is an important thing. And lastly, and I'll run, I noticed in Dr. Mitchell's statement Monday, there was some missive that he made when he would have spoken to oil and gas. And you know that's a topic I love.
Yes.
And with Guyana's situation, but some information he gave was not totally correct, because I follow these things every time. But I know, based on what he said, we may not be extracting oil and gas soon. For whatever reason, I understand. I mean, you may have plans, but plans fall through the door. But I want us to be very careful when moving into that area, whichever government, he may not be in office at that time, or whichever government, because I don't want a Guyana situation for Grenada. Yeah. Anyhow, we have bad weather coming. I want everybody who is there take it seriously. At the time of Ivan, everybody, we were more relaxed, until the thing actually damaged us. Mm-hmm. So let's be careful. We don't know if this thing could change, because this is hurricane. Definitely. It is hurricane season. So it can start one way, and then it can turn, and then it can pass, and then make a turn and come back again. So
rebound.
Yes, it could rebound. Yes. So let's be careful. Take all your precautions, and have a good weekend.
Thank you. We appreciate. We'll continue to remind people of the do's and don'ts, and to be prepared. And we hope that everyone will take it serious. And while we hope that nothing will come our way, we still need to be careful and to be prepared. We accept the fact that everyone will have their personal opinions.
Of course.
I do not know that we could even have a state of emergency going into a year and 2 years, and so I don't think anyone in Grenada is going to agree for it, despite the fact that Dr. Mitchell did use the issue about a vaccine, Mm-hmm. As the caller rightly stated, we don't know when. The makers and the people who the laboratories and so that are working on that cannot even give a definite when exactly. I think there are some test runs that are happening now, but these can be a long time away. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years, whatever it is. Yeah. I see and feel the statement made by Dr. Mitchell. I see it in the context of saying, look, let us hold on to the state of emergency for a while, for a moment still, until he had used the case until we get a vaccine. Mm-hmm. But I don't necessarily believe that you have to wait until there's a vaccine. But until there is greater certainty, maybe might have been the word, as to what we're dealing with and how best we can handle it.
Yeah.
Because as we've said, there's still a lot of unknowns about COVID.
Absolutely. We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
Hi, morning,
Hi,
sir.
morning.
Everything.
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah. In times in life, you have to do a little reflection. Mm-hmm. In 2008, when you have NDC run on they have on the manifesto that about good governance, transparency, and accountability. Right? But when you look during the reign of NDC at the time, a lot of things happening. Remember the closing parliament for 6 months?
Yes.
Things happening, and the Grenada people don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. Look again, you have where at that time the economy was in free fall in negative growth. Negative growth for the whole 5 years NDC was in government. Paying salary late. Excessive fighting among ministers. our ministers. The people getting salary late, 34th, 24th, 25th of the month. Where you have a lot of fighting. Who do talking? Like Bacchanal. According to someone, milli, a lot of milli in NDC. That was the purpose. Because one of the things, when you campaign on lie, or you campaign on propaganda, and you govern it on propaganda, you're not looking at the real issue to help people better their living condition. Because they promise the senior citizens $400, where they put $50 more on it. $50 more on it. You know, sometimes I always say, when you may upside there, when you get into the kitchen and you look at it and see the situation, I do believe you're right to come back to the people and say, yes, but we promise that. Well, you can't fulfill it. But when you promise something and you're trying to lie and say, never say that. You see, people know what you said, and people don't forget. They may forget you, but they may forgive you, but they don't forget what you said to them. All right? And when you look at the government, present at the situation, where your people don't work in, but they're getting the salary in time. In time. You know, like they just like you have money there, and they're taking from them when nobody knows, nothing coming in. This is what's going on now. And this is a government that care and love people. They care and love people, and they want to see people live better. I know, like I was saying to people, you know, like in a home, we may have husband and wife, they may have children. Some supporting, and this is some supporting NMP. But when you look at the Imani, that was in the program at the time, where the parents may be supporting NDC, and they support NMP, and the children get a work or get a stipend from the program. And what happened? NDC came and they sent home all the Imani workers. You deprive same people who are supporting you. Right? You can't get some cold water to drink, you can't get cold juice. What do you expect these people to do is to turn against you? So see, I always say you have people with the good in opposing. When it comes for governing, they can't govern. A lot of attackers, but no action. So, Ms. Duncan, I want to say God bless you all. And as we are in this hurricane season, asking the people of Greater Carriacou and Peter Martinique, prepare yourself. We understand people say, well, we are always expecting things to come and nothing coming. Well, I always say you better prepare and nothing come, and then you don't prepare and something come. Like a disaster coming and meet a disaster.
Yes.
So, Ms. Duncan, Mr. Bola, you all have a wonderful day. God bless you all.
You have a blessed one yourself, and you go ahead and prepare for what may come our way. We hope it doesn't, but, you know, we want to have all lives saved as a result.
Absolutely. Mr. Bola, I have the some information coming out of NADMA. I just want to sidetrack for a bit. As it relates to key information on shelters that are being used during COVID-19. And it reads, just one moment. Okay. It reads, as the island prepares for the possible impact of Tropical Storm Gonzalo, the following protocols are expected to guide shelter use once activated. There will be an identified isolation area in each shelter. The health check will be conducted on all occupants entering the shelter. All occupants are required to wear face covering. Occupants are required to supply their own face covering. All occupants are to maintain a 6 feet distancing in and around the shelter. Frequent hand washing and hand sanitizing and cough etiquette will be in effect. Occupants are not allowed to share dishes, drinking glasses, cups, eating utensils, towels, bedding, or other personal items. Occupants are asked to walk with their own utensil supply. Persons will be monitored for illnesses such as fever, chills, cough, loose stool or frequent bowel movement, shortness of breath and difficulty breathing, and other symptoms compatible with COVID-19. Example, muscle aches, headaches, sore throat, runny nose, loss of taste and smell. The list of shelters will be disseminated later today. All right. So these are the protocols that govern the use of shelters during the COVID-19 period. Now, while it might not be mandatory for everyone to go to a shelter, if you know, especially from experience or given your current condition where you live or anything like that, and you know that the possibility may arise that you have to go to a shelter, I am advising, and this is my personal advice, pack a bag. You know, like when a pregnant woman gets ready to go and make a baby, Mr. Bola, but how much, Mr. Bola?
No, but when you ask me, when you look me in the eyes and you say, you know when a pregnant woman, I don't.
Oh, you could not know.
I've never been pregnant. I would never be pregnant. So if you want to tell us about packing a bag and what a pregnant woman would have done, because she's expected to go to the hospital.
I expect you to know these things, Mr. Bola.
There are a lot of things you expect of me, Duncan. Yes. So, in other words, you're saying to people, prepare. We've been talking preparedness. And we said, if your situation demands that you have to move, you should know when you're going to move, how you're going to move, your family should know. So, in other words, in that planning process, put together a bag with the basic things that you need. Yes. Because here NADMA is saying that you won't be allowed to share utensils, eating utensils, and so you won't be allowed to share bedding. So you must walk with yours. Walk with sheets, walk with blankets, walk with cups, spoons, and plates for that would be used by your family members, because everyone in the shelter would have to keep to themselves due to COVID. Make sure that there is face covering. And we did speak about that yesterday. Yes. If you're going to the shelter, you need to walk with those things. We talk about having a first aid kit if you can afford it, a flashlight, things that you will normally have at home for use, because it's like you're going into your own little quarters when you go into that center.
And maybe in the heat of the moment, you may forget to grab your mask. So don't let that happen. Put it in the bag.
Beforehand.
You know,
yes.
So when you get to the shelter, you can say, okay, well, it's in my bag. I know it's there. I have it ready and available. We'll take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Sister Duncan. Good morning, Brother Bola.
Morning to you, sir.
Yeah. Sister Duncan, I just heard the last comment there about NAGMA. Whoever going to be in control of the hurricane, tell people where to go, how to go. But I think one mistake, and that's only my opinion, to telling people that it be 6 feet apart, that is very hard to do an emergency. Because when you grab your 2 children and you're running into a shelter, you could think about how to stay 6 feet apart. Tell them everybody try and put on a mask. Everybody could understand that. But to telling them that to stay 6 feet apart, that is very hard to do, because everybody is a life-saving thing. So at the time, they got to make that adjustment.
All right.
We're going to try to do it, Mr. Bola. And you just talk very sensible too.
Yeah. Well, we're listening to you, so we'll pass that information on.
Yeah, to tell you to stay 6 feet apart, that one is very hard, because Mr. Bola, if storm is coming and things is falling and people are running a building, they're just running in the building.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they're only going to run into the building. So tell them to think about it.
Yes.
You're not trying to be safe by putting on a mask. In Canada here, the buses is full, but they put it, everybody should wear a mask.
Should wear a mask, yes. Yeah.
But everybody still jam up against the bus going, you have to go to work. The bus is full, but you must have a mask.
Good. Or some kind of
if you don't have a mask, you're out the bus.
Yes.
You see? Because you wouldn't send anything to me, I don't send anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the way. And another thing I have to go on with the Prime Minister talking about until he find a vaccine. That's an error. He had to say, as the time goes, we will see.
Yes.
We might give it another 3 months or whatever.
Yeah.
But he goes too far.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's going to correct that statement.
He will.
Because we don't know, this thing going to take 5 years, Mr. Bola, or take 10 years, 10 days. We don't know.
We don't know.
So every country has to adjust it to their, your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Donald Trump don't want to adjust in America, so be it. When we lock them along the border, they're not coming into Canada.
You're right.
Stay there and do what they want to do.
Stay with Trump.
You understand? Yes. Let Trump stay in America and do what he wants to do.
Yes.
And Trudeau you think Trudeau is a little boy? the little boy going to show him he's a big man too.
Okay.
Yes, so, because he feel that he could just say open border and Chiro have to follow him up.
Follow him, yeah.
You know? But we can't do that. It's too dangerous.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
We're on the right track.
Yes.
Prime Minister giving it ease by ease.
Yes.
But don't take it down the road and say till we get a vaccine. Don't make that statement. You have to correct that.
Yes.
Because the opposition, you know them, they're good in opposing anything.
Yes.
I was with them. Anything the government do. We do it for revolution. We couldn't beat Gary.
Yes.
You should know that too as a young boy.
Yes.
And the only way we could have beat him is trying to knock two old pan and run some little soldiers from a barrack. Right? And stay for we get together, and what happens? We start to fight against ourselves.
Yes.
We start to fight against ourselves. The Prime Minister not good anymore because Fidel Castro tell him that he had to govern the country. And Bernard Code and the crew figured that is wrong. So Morris want to run the country just as how Fidel run in Cuba. You understand it? Anything with two heads, Mr. Bola is a monster.
Yes. Once
right? Anything with two heads. Yes. Right now, Dr. Mitchell on his way down. My former party, they can't get together and say, let's find a prime minister for Grenada. Forget party. Let me find a prime minister for Grenada because Mr. Bola, you're a smart person. Right now, Grenada don't have another leader. Right now. The day this might go, we're in real trouble.
Well, we hope not. God is going to shine light on someone that will come up.
That seed should plant already.
Yeah.
That is my problem with my party.
Yes.
That seed should have planted already.
Yes.
So now we see that little country and peaceful group pushing up the head.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because who Dr. Mitchell had counted on, I think they failed him.
Okay.
I think they failed him because he knows who he had the head on.
Right.
I know who he had the head on. But he failed. You don't see that person pushing up the head.
Okay.
Because leadership is not easy.
No, it's not easy.
Mr. Bola, you have to try to accept criticism. And if you can't accept criticism, you cannot lead no country.
Yes.
Yeah.
You cannot lead no country. But if you're going to hide with your friends, because let me tell you, leadership is not a friend thing, you know.
Nope.
True.
Mr. Bola, you there as a young man, I used to back you.
Yep.
Strong
Thank
here
you.
and Sri Lanka tell you.
Thank you.
You understand me? Leadership, you have to take your licks.
You have to make decisions and stand by it once it's for the betterment of the people.
Simple like that.
Yes.
Take your licks.
Yes.
I'll give you one thing before I go. We had we had Mary Show.
Yes.
Right? Tia Mary Show.
Yes.
We had Gary.
Yes.
Right? We had Bishop. All that, we talk about leaders, huh?
Yes.
We had Bishop. Although some were soft than some. We had Prophet. And I'm talking about H.A. Blaze because he used to hold all the money in the treasury. Right? We had Prophet. We had Brizan.
Yes.
Right? And another quiet one again. That was his fault. It was simple.
Yes.
And we have Dr. Mitchell.
Yes.
And think about it. All these men was leaders. And look back now and tell me who you see trying to follow in footsteps of any one of these men right now in Grenada.
Yeah, we don't have anybody
Zero.
stepping into
It's
the
a
show
sad
at all.
story.
Yes.
A very sad story.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about that enough. Dr. Mitchell has to go, but some of us fighting so that he could just keep staying there. We go kill him.
No. I think he himself knows that because he always say his time is coming soon. It's sooner than later.
Yes, but
Yet
he said that 10 years ago, and he still can't go because he can't see nobody. That plant he planted ain't growing.
Yeah.
Then push up his head. All the manure he give it. And that's a sad story. And we in the party know it.
We'll work on it.
So let us pray. Because there is time now for Dr. Mitchell to step up and then you see a man on the side of him and you say, well, that's the man or that's the woman.
Yeah.
Because that he's passing on the battle. It's like a relay match.
Yes, it's like
Pass
a relay.
the battle onto that.
Yes.
And he's sitting and he's waiting. He has to worry now. Because everything is good. But everything is not good because he's still here and he alone. Because he get the boy and go with him. Everything done.
All right.
So think about it.
We understand.
When I talk, people say I go to mouth and over here, but I follow politics too long. Yeah,
Don't worry, they won't give
long.
you criticism too, but you're good.
I
You're
know,
good.
I know. Because my party was only criticizing.
Yes.
And always say, when you criticize a man, everything he do, just tell me one thing that Dr. Michel ever done. And all you can call one. If it's Deepwater Harbor, oh God, he go sing tongue.
Yeah.
If it's done this, he go sing that.
Yes.
Everything
Hospital
he do.
can build, stadium go,
The
sing,
economy
everything.
is going forward. Mr. Bola, when the economy going forward, oh God, only you shall know the country. You shall know this. Tell me what you are going to do when you get there. That's all.
Yes.
Tell the Grenadian people what you're going to do when you get there. Not like Franca. Franca comes in the same boat with Nazim and them.
Yes.
You have in when she lost against Nazim, what did make her do? She had to be the public relations officer. How could you get such a bad licking and to go and put you to do that?
Yeah.
That was what he played with your head. And now she's still saying people tell her this and people tell her that. I heard that 10 years ago. Instead of us sit down and get together and let me plan for the best for this country, is the best for themselves.
Only themselves.
And Mr. Bola, I will end here. And you and Sister Duncan, all you have a good day.
You have a good one too.
Wrong,
yeah.
We like to Sheldon, you are wrong. One day get in the air and say you are wrong.
You are wrong, okay. Right, anytime he come around, we'll let him take a little thing on the mic.
Yes, man.
All right.
Yes, man.
All right.
Good.
Take care. Okay. Nice.
All right. Smola, we have some very passionate politicians out there, you know.
Yes.
People are very passionate about their politics.
In their own right, they are supposed to.
Yeah, but we have to, one thing I do have to say in regards to his comment is that they have to say 6 feet apart. It is mandatory.
Well, when they get in there, I think
yes.
He was making mention that when you're rushing into the center.
And I think it's situational.
Yes.
You know, it's situational. So there's not going to be somebody standing by the door and make you stand up outside in the wind and make sure you're going 6 feet apart.
And of course, people must be told and move in a timely manner, that you don't wait until the system actually is upon you to move. You need to move, way before, once the announcements are being made, timely, so that you get into the shelter way before heavy winds and rain, those kind of things. So it's about planning. That's why we say planning is important. If you know you have to move, if you know that your situation, wherever you are situated, may not your home, you can't batten it down properly, or it's not of the type that may withstand heavy wind, you must know that, and very early know that you would have to move, so you make the decision to move on.
And that's why since yesterday we have been appealing to people to assess your situation and begin preparing.
Yes.
Begin looking at where you are, if you're prone to flooding, if there are areas that may slide, that may, trap you in your house, or if you're in a situation where you don't feel safe enough to stay there and you feel like you need to go to a shelter. All of these things you should have already assessed, to make a determination on whether you need to find your nearest shelter or whether you can stay at home and ride out the storm there. If we do see conditions, remember we still on the foundation of if. There has been no definite, and I don't think there is ever going to be a definite yes or no, because we may say yes and it may be no, and we may say no and it may be yes. So there will never be a definite. But the only thing we have control over is how prepared we are. That is the only thing that we have control over. How prepared we will be when the time comes for us to deal with that. So we'll go back to talking about, Mr. Bola, the state of emergency, because I'm still waiting on the list of shelters.
Well, the state of emergency, I think we've cleared a lot on that. It has not been announced yet. We don't know if it ever will. It's just the Prime Minister in an interview or statement saying that he thinks we should hold on to it for a while still. So let us allow. I think sometime next week there's a parliament sitting, a parliamentary sitting. I don't know if there'd be any moves during that time to extend. So let's look and see. I don't have any inside word from anyone. So I'll say we have to wait and see until that happens.
All right. We have a caller on the line. Good morning.
We are sorry.
Oh no, it seems like we lost that call.
Oh,
We
sure.
apologize, caller. Also, I think in reading the Prime Minister's statement, what he said, and I'll read the quote again, is that until a vaccine is found, I don't think that we should lift the state of emergency or the emergency situation completely. And those are the two words we have to take from this. He did not say that we are definitely going to stay in a state of emergency. He didn't say that we are going to stay in emergency until a vaccine is found. He said that he believes it is his opinion. However, he's not the one saying yes or
and
no.
Yeah.
It has to be a collective decision by
And
the
it's
cabinet.
based on advice.
And it's based on
the
advice.
cabinet takes a decision based on the advice given by the medical experts.
Absolutely.
You know, what they believe, what they know, what new things they have learned. So it is not a situation where the Prime Minister say emergency, no emergency. It's a team decision, and there will be factors for and against why we should, why we shouldn't. He gave his personal opinion, and he said he don't think it should be lifted completely. So he's also saying, look, even if it is a limited state of emergency, maybe we should have it. So he's not saying completely, you know, we must get rid of it. But these are all thoughts that came out of him, and I say it is still early days. We have to wait. We have to hear what announcements will be made, and we'd look to see what direction things are going. And of course, it is the right of people to express their feelings, their concerns, what they think, whether they are in favor or not in favor. However, as we oftentimes say here, you do not have to incite violence. You do not have to be disrespectful. You do not have to become dishonorable in your voicing your opinion and sharing your thoughts. You know, this is a free country where we have a right, and I don't know that anyone's right has been infringed upon to speak. So let's see how it pans out, and then we can have some deeper conversation and have some more people weighing in on what they think about an issue like that.
All right. I want to go to the live video to read some of the comments. Of course, to the general public, as you are already aware, the lines are open. If you want to contribute to the conversation, the number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling locally. If you're in the diaspora and you want to give us a call, it's 347-329-3101. Mr. Bowler, there's somebody on the live here that is saying some people are incapable of seeing the bigger picture. They are limited in their vision.
Many of us are very myopic in our view.
In our vision.
You know, we just see the tip of our nose. We don't see down the line, and we don't understand. And we are not prepared to listen. And when we listen, take into context what is being said or shown to us. I think you have a call.
Yeah, we have a call on the line. Good morning.
Oh, yes. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to your co-host.
Good morning, sir.
Morning to the boss. How are you today?
I don't know that I am that.
How many beds you planted yesterday?
How many?
How many beds you planted yesterday?
Well, I didn't plant beds. I plant trees. I planted...
You were preparing for the bed yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, my concern,
just before you go on, if you could turn down the volume of something you have behind you, we're getting a heavy feedback from it.
You're getting a feedback?
Yes.
Yeah.
My concern. Okay, is it good?
Yes, much better.
Thank
you.
Right,
great. I take it off. No, my main concern is that whilst we battle with COVID and what you call emergencies, all those are good topics. But my main concern is whilst we plan out and deal with the COVID and strategize to deal with it, is the economy. I note that as I shop around, that prices are rising dramatically. Things is going up. And with respect to the state of employment, we're not saying that we peaked there. So we're struggling there. So that says that people are extracting, I observed that yesterday, people are extracting from the financial institution into doing their home things. that is worrisome. I am saying I don't know if the government have the money or if they could find the money, but you see the infrastructure as it relates to preparing for the expansion of the economy. I'm talking about roads, water, electricity, in the areas where there is very little homes and I call it the lower middle belt. The possibility as to contemplate on the East Coast, St. David's East Coast, from what you call Content Maltese right up to Koshu, which is what I call it the Pond Bridge and the Caribbean, into the Caribbean. I say that is where the new trust, economic trust, will be based. I don't know. There is so much dust road there, old roads over the years, stone roads. If we are contemplating on having this thing done during COVID, preparing the economy for takeoff, because that is where you will lend to the home building, employment, the expansion of the business people as they look for new areas to invest. I think that will serve us right as we grapple with COVID, rather than waiting until COVID is over. That may not be over, and it's eating away the finances to do these things. Okay. I thought I would pitch that into you so you could take it to your team.
Okay.
That's my concern.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You have a blessed one yourself.
All right. Mr. Bola, I just want to go back to the live videos so I can read some of the comments there. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Well, you have to leave some people out because you have so much comments.
So many comments, I know.
No
event, everything cancelled, and it's time that Grenada can see the vision of the Prime Minister. What he is trying to do is to make Grenada great again, no matter what is coming. We must prepare for what we must prepare for it. We must remember that God does not inspire people, that God inspires people. Leave the boss alone.
Just a passionate friend of his.
Yes. Another one says, thanks for sharing relevant information to the public for our guidance and safety concerns for our lives. Blessings. So many comments. It's hard to decide. Okay. Somebody's saying turn up your volume and you're so loud already. All right. Someone here is sharing a concern that up to now the NIS didn't pay and the storm is coming. This
did not
concern,
pay them.
That's what I was just about to ask. The concern, is it a personal concern?
Maybe it's a personal.
And if it is a personal concern, maybe you could provide us with more information. Because just saying that they didn't pay doesn't really give us any information except for the fact that you didn't receive any money. But what are the contributing factors to that? Are you registered? Has your company been making contributions?
Yes, that's an important point because some people are registered. Deductions may have been made from their wages or salaries, but whether it was remitted to the NIS is another story, because we have had a lot of cases of that where there are some companies or bosses or people who deduct from the employee but not remitted to the NIS. And if your remittances have not been going in, then definitely you will not be considered for getting anything. So you have to clarify all of those issues.
And that's why I always encourage people, when you're making these kinds of statements, you need to be more specific in giving this kind of information, because from reading that, I would get the impression that NIS didn't pay nobody nothing at all. But it has to be more specific. Is it that you have not received, and what are the conditions? Have you contacted them? What's the information they provided to you, and so on, so people can make a better judgment of what the actual situation is in order for us to provide any assistance whatsoever, or any advice at that matter. We need to get all of the facts. We need to know exactly what was said,
in dealing with those things, and just to stray off a little bit, but probably we can contextualize it into all of what we've been saying. I had a conversation a couple of days ago with a gentleman, and he had asked me. He said, find a way to raise that issue on the program for me. It's a guy who is into business, and he has this difficulty, he said, with people sometimes not living up to their words. In other words, they tell you one thing and they do the complete opposite, or they mean, as he said, the complete opposite. I don't think he wanted to use the word that they tell you untruths, and I don't want to say that too. But as a people, we need to come to terms with the fact that a man must be able to stand by his word. Yes? So if I say to you that, I'm going to be at a certain place at a certain time to do whatever I have to do for you, circumstances can change. Right. Something may happen that may prevent me from being there at the time, or even if I get there at the time, from doing what I had planned to do.
Right.
But we must communicate. And somebody made a point earlier on that communication is necessary. One of the callers. And timely communication, I say. Yes? Because we cannot continue going around, living our lives thinking that we can outsmart everybody every time. It just doesn't work. And it's not a sensible thing to do. It does not allow people to look at you with any confidence.
Yeah.
And soon people start going around and saying, you can't trust this person. Don't listen to what he says. Don't take anything he tells you for granted. So you're setting up yourself for a really big fall. And I think more of us need to understand that before we take that role, before we start, you take or you credit something from someone, you know you have to pay. If it's $200 and you promise them by Friday you will, maybe your boss did not pay you your full sum. Or maybe you got your full sum on Friday, but some emergency turned up at home. Go to the individual and say, look, it was my promise to pay you your $200 today, but I have a situation that developed, so I can only pay you $100 now. Can you extend my time by another week or two? But have a dialogue. Don't hide away. Don't pretend that you didn't promise. Don't give the impression that you forget. Oh, when you see the individual, and the gentleman was really, really heart-wrenching when he spoke to me, telling me that, he finds too many people nowadays is practicing that. Something else that sometimes causes us to do those things is when, as our foreparents said to us before, never hang your heart where your hand cannot reach. Not your heart, not what's inside of you, your heart on your head. That's what they were thinking. Because if you hang it that high, when you need it again,
you won't be able to reach it.
Right. Or they say, don't you dirty the water hole in which you drank from.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if you'll be passing back that way and you may have to drink again.
Yep.
Right? The point I'm making here is we cannot live our lives based on how the Joneses live theirs. We don't know the Joneses' situation. We don't know the monthly, weekly, or fortnightly income. We don't know nothing about their finances. So because they bought a new car doesn't mean you have to buy a new car too. Right? We must all live within our remit.
True.
And if we try doing that, we will have less difficulty living life and having problems with people. So I just thought I'd throw that out because I know the gentleman listens and he said he's having a hard time. And I think most of us who can relate to his experience at some point in time in our life and our everyday dealings with people, whether we are into business or not. Some way, sometimes someone has set us up with something, promising us something, and they never show up, they never give it. And maybe most of us, we just don't worry about it. But it is not a good way to go about in life.
Absolutely.
If we're doing it, we must take stock. We must stop, we must introspect, and change that approach. And if we haven't started yet, let us not get into it at all. it is
Absolutely.
not at all a good way to do things.
We do have the 11 o'clock update, Mr. Bola. Oh, Lord. Well, I had it. Let me just get it. Yeah, let me just get it again here. The 11 o'clock update that it does indicate that the storm has the winds have lessened, so it's getting a little weaker. However, it's still
on the same path?
Yeah, it's still on the same path. Okay. So as of 11 o'clock, the center of Tropical Storm Gonzalo was located near latitude 10 degrees north, longitude 54.2 degrees west. Gonzalo is moving towards the west near 18 miles per hour. So it did pick up some speed. Drop some strength, pick up some speed. The general westward to west-northwestward movement is expected during the next couple of days. On the forecast track, the center of Gonzalo will be approaching the southern Windward Islands tonight and then move across the islands on Saturday and over the eastern Caribbean Sea on Sunday. Maximum sustained winds are near 50 miles per hour with higher gusts. There is a considerable uncertainty in the intensity forecast, but some strengthening is still possible during the next day or so before Gonzalo reaches the southern Windward Islands. So in most of the news reports that we've read, Mr. Bola, there is some spark of uncertainty as it relates to Gonzalo, whether it's going to strengthen into a hurricane or it's going to remain a tropical storm, what its projected path is going to be, if it will remain on the same path, if it will go higher, if it's going to go lower. Right now it's moving due west, and they expect it to start moving in a west-northwesterly movement soon, or in the next couple of days. However, as it stands right now, it's moving due west. All right, at 50 miles per hour. That would be the winds. The winds are 50 miles per hour. It's moving at 18 miles per hour. Okay. When we got the 8 o'clock report, it was moving at 14 miles per hour. 15 miles per hour. So it is increasing in speed. However, its strength seems to have diminished a little bit. Yes. We hope that it continues along that path in terms of the diminution of its strength. Hopefully, by the time it gets to us on the islands, it's downgraded to a tropical depression or just a system of bad weather. That is what we hope for. We can't hope for it to move up, because if it moves up, guess what? It might affect somebody else. So we want it to downgrade. That's what we're praying for. We're praying for it to downgrade so that nobody really is affected as a result of that. I want to read the release that came exactly from NADMA. And it says Tropical Storm Gonzalo moves closer to Grenada at 11 a.m. The center of Tropical Storm Gonzalo is located near latitude 10 degrees north, 54.2 degrees west, or 458 miles southeast of Grenada. Maximum sustained winds near 50 miles per hour. Present movement is west at 18 miles per hour. Gonzalo's center is expected to pass between Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Saturday. For Grenada, 24-hour accumulated average rainfall amongst 6 to 8 inches are possible. Gonzalo is expected to have an increase of forward speed with a west-northwest track over the weekend. The storm has weakened slightly over the past few hours, and tropical storm force wind extends outward only 25 miles from the center. So it's a fairly small
that's what I was talking about before. How far out does it extend?
Now, despite this, citizens are encouraged to remain vigilant and follow the directives issued by the agency, which is NADMA, and work to ensure we preserve lives, livelihood, and property. NADMA advises all to conduct your personal assessment of your dwelling place. Make decisions on whether or not to evacuate. Please note that your nearest shelter may not be open, so consult the list and identify the next closest shelter. And I want us to make note of that. They're not saying that the shelter may not be operational, but they're saying that if it isn't open, make sure that you know where your nearest shelter is. All right? Charge your phones and other gadgets. Stock up on medication and essential supplies. For businesses, ensure assets are secure. Double-check sandbags and shutters, and be ready to evacuate staff. Marine operators are advised to secure your vessels. The National Disaster Management Agency and the Meteorological Office will continue to monitor Tropical Storm Gonzalo and update the public in a timely manner. So, it's just as we've been saying, Mr. Bola.
Yep.
Prepare. Make sure that you do an assessment. As we said, that should have been done since yesterday. Do an assessment of your surroundings. And if you didn't do it yesterday, you still have time. Go ahead, do your assessment. Make sure that you are in a safe area. Remember, you're not just concerned about if your roof is going to blow off or if your windows are going to blow open, but you're also concerned about if you're in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding. You're also concerned about if you're in an area that is prone to land slippages or landslides. You're also concerned about if you're in an area where a tree falling may be an issue, or where tree falling on power lines may also become an issue. You are looking at all of these things, and then you make a determination on whether you should move to a shelter, identify the shelter closest to you, and make preparations to go there. Charge your phones, as is being said, because remember, whether we experience the actual storm or the effects of, you just don't know what effect it may have. A tree that is not too sturdy may fall on power lines, causing an outage, right? That may restrict you from making calls if your phone is in charge. So please, all of these things need to be taken into consideration. Make sure that you have clean drinking water, because guess what? It may not be a situation where we get a lot of rain and the water is dirty and murky, but it may be a situation where a tree or a large volume of water may damage a pipe, and NOASA has to work on it, which means that water in your area may be restricted. So please take all of these things into consideration while you prepare for the possibility of impact. We have a caller on the line. Good morning. Hello, good morning. Sorry.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'm calling from Brooklyn, New York. I called on Monday and I was inquiring on behalf of some friends of my daughter who work with the Times. And it was in reference to a program that the government of Barbados has initiated where they would give you a one-year visa for which you will pay $2,000. And if your income is over 50,000 US, you would be welcome to come and spend your time in Barbados for that 1 year while the pandemic is raging here in the United States of America. It's like a vacation, a working vacation. And Mr. Bowler, I think, had said that he was not aware of it or any thoughts of it being implemented in Grenada, but he would look into it.
Yes.
And I am wondering if maybe he did get around to it or maybe not.
Well, sir, maybe I should have given you some response before, and that I apologize for. Based on who I spoke with from the government, it was indicated to me that they had no thoughts of that. Not that they may not, now that it's been brought to their attention. But as it relates to people coming in, once they meet the necessary protocols, I think the Immigration Department can give up to 6 months in the first instance, and there can be an application for extension if someone needs to extend their time. And with the extension, I think it comes with a cost. There's something that needs to be paid for the extension. But in terms of a visa given like the Barbados situation that they're looking into, that is not existent in Grenada at the time. I do not know if in a matter of weeks or months we may implement that, but from what was said to me, no, there were no thoughts about doing that at the moment. It could become a matter now that it's raised, and the cabinet may look into it. And if that becomes the case, then we can give the news. But we continue to operate as we do. When the borders are open up to international flights, if there's someone coming in, they can get up to 6 months stay in the first instance, and then there can be an extension if the authorities think it is necessary to do so.
Okay, well, that sounds fair enough, because like I said the other day, I'm always blabbing my mouth about Grenada.
I know. And thank you for that. You're not blabbing your mouth. You're just advertising the best part of the Caribbean. Pure Grenada.
Yeah, well,
I love spice.
No, but for example, like I think I did say my daughter works with the Times.
With the Times,
and
yes, she did.
The New York Times. And she's not going back. Well, they said she has to stay home, work from home.
From home, yes.
Until January next year.
Yes.
And depending on the situation, it might be longer. And now her friends, at least 16 of her friends, have
Yes.
been inquiring since
Yes.
I brought this thing up. So it might be a good way for the not the immigration department, the government,
yes,
to make some extra funds, and homeowners, because they're talking about renting houses and sharing, and it could be something that would the trickle down effect in other areas.
Very well,
So,
very well. We will appreciate that. And the fact is, you know what the protocols are now. They do a test before they come in. They come here, they get tested, make sure they're COVID-free. I do not believe they will have to pay for a visa. We don't have that visa restriction in place at the moment. And so it may be quite easier for them to get into Grenada. No visa requirements needed. And they follow the protocols. And of course, yes, 3 months, 6 months, whatever they can, that will be good for us.
One of the questions, sorry to keep you so long. One of the questions that I would ask is, how is the internet situation in Grenada?
Very
Because
well. We do have good internet service here. Very good. From time to time, we have little issues, but we have broadband. The services are quick. They're good. They're good.
Okay. All right. Listen, I will pass this on, and I'm sure by tomorrow or by Monday there will be another 10, maybe 15 people who would be interested.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much for your call, caller.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend now. Take care.
Mr. Bola, I want to read this quick release before we go, and it's really important, so I have to get to it. We were currently under storm watch.
Yes.
We have now been upgraded to a storm warning. So as of 11:20 today, Grenada under tropical storm warning. The tropical storm the National Disaster Management Agency advises the general public that Grenada and its dependencies are now under tropical storm warning. A tropical storm warning means that the tropical conditions are possible for Grenada and its dependencies in the next 36 hours. At 11 a.m., and that's what we read before, and somebody mentioned that we should again let people know what the longitude and latitude of Grenada is, and that would be 12.1 and 61.6. Right?
West.
So
12.1
degrees north, and 61.6 degrees west. For those of you who don't know, well, now you know. 12.1, 61.6, and the current status of the tropical storm is 10 degrees north, 54.2 degrees west. So it's still significantly below us, and it's 458
Not significantly,
miles. Just below us.
54 and 6 is
right, and there is a possibility, of course, the two projections that they're looking at is that it would pass either between Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or there's also a possibility that it will pass due south of the island. So we still have to take that into consideration. We are, however, expected to receive in the next 24 hours an accumulated average rainfall amount of 6 to 8 inches. And also, so that means that those of you who know you're prone to flooding, who sit in a place where you believe there is a landslide or land slippages, now is that time for you to act. And NADMA, of course, is advising that all persons conduct your personal assessment of your dwelling place, make decisions on whether or not to evacuate. Please note that the nearest shelter may not be open, so consult the list and identify the next closest shelter. Guys, now is the time for you to really make that decision on what you want to do. Remember, we're still dealing with possibilities in this situation. However, it is better to be prepared and nothing happens than to be unprepared and be left saying, if I had known.
Well, we are out of time, completely out of time.
Completely.
So we just want to wish each and every one of you a really good Friday, a happy weekend. But please be prepared. There's a strong possibility that we may be under threat by a weather system. Do what you have to do. Be safe. We need to be talking to you on Monday and not about you.
Absolutely. So, guys, as we always say here, in whatever you do, be safe, guys. Be secure. I really want to be talking to all of you on Monday, and I don't want to have to be talking about you. So please enjoy the remainder of your day and stay tuned for the National Report.
Grenada now under a tropical storm watch. Details to this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back with the details to the news for Thursday, July 23rd, 2020. I'm Delroy Lozan. Grenada is now under a tropical storm watch. The National Emergency Advisory Committee, NEAC, held a virtual emergency meeting on Thursday morning to discuss the pending threat of Tropical Storm Gonzalo to the island. We get more details in this report.
At 2 p.m. on Thursday, Grenada was placed under a tropical storm watch, which means that storm conditions are possible within the next 48 hours. At 5 p.m., the center of Tropical Storm Gonzalo was located at 9.8 degrees north and 49.4 degrees west, which is about 737 miles east-southeast of Grenada. Maximum sustained winds are 60 miles per hour and movement is west at 13 miles per hour. Some models show that the center of Tropical Storm Gonzalo will pass either to the north or to the south of Grenada between Friday night into Saturday. Officials at the National Disaster Management Agency and the Met Office say either way, we should be prepared for an impact, whether directly or indirectly. Grenada can expect thunder showers which can lead to possible flooding. The country can also be affected by gusty winds and sea conditions, which will see waves up to at least 13 feet. As a result, a marine advisory remains in effect.
Meanwhile, the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, will adopt COVID-19 protocols at emergency shelters as it continues to monitor Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Weather models suggest that the center can pass as low as south of Grenada to as high as north of St. Lucia as a strong tropical storm or Category 1 hurricane. Acting Disaster Coordinator Superintendent Sylvan McIntyre says the activation period for the emergency shelters is 36 hours before the impact. Those who will be at the shelters are expected to walk with sanitizers, masks or face covering and food supplies, and they will be screened upon entry.
There are some guidelines. We did tweak the guidelines that is in existence now to incorporate COVID, meaning the distancing for beds, the physical distancing when you're standing, when you're getting to the shelter, etc. And at our emergency meeting, we'll be discussing some of the COVID-19 items that are available for these shelters. Yes. Testing would be one of the things that we do not want to take anything for chance, that everyone out there is okay and we're COVID-19 free. That's not the case. COVID will be with us, is with us, and so we have to take those preparedness measures. So what we're going to be asking Ministry of Health to do is to provide us with those thermometers that we can check temperature on people entering. and that the staff are currently being trained.
McIntyre encourages families to ensure their household emergency kits and plans are ready for use.
What your plan speaks to, what you're going to do. So like ministries and so forth, I advised them yesterday that they need to consult the plan and see what the plan would speak to when you are in a position like this. For the private sector, I advise the same thing, that you consult your plan and then you start warning persons off, speaking to persons and say, look, there's a system outside there, it is posing a threat to us. Should it become worse, this is what we need to do. So people just need to now start looking at the plan. So while we speak of sectors, it means also that if you have a family disaster plan, it's a good time also to consult it.
The U.S. government supplied NADMA with personal protective equipment for use during the hurricane season, which is also the COVID-19 period. These, according to McIntyre, will be distributed first to the district managers and supervisors, then to other workers and volunteers. Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell says COVID-19 has presented Grenada and the rest of the world with the opportunity to reset the development agenda. Dr. Mitchell says digitized economy is the way to the future to address technological advancements and demands of the citizens. The Prime Minister was the keynote speaker at the Cipriani College's Labor Day commemorative webinar on Wednesday. The session focused on digitization. According to Dr. Mitchell, digital transformation can determine how countries survive the new COVID-19 landscape.
This data-driven pathway forms the nucleus of the digital transformation that must take center stage in the individual and collective development agenda of Caribbean countries. In fact, according to the World Economic Forum, we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which is highlighted by the impact of digitization, with emerging technologies changing our lives in unprecedented ways. My brothers and sisters all, a digitized economy, a digitized Caribbean is the way to the future. It's a critical pathway for addressing the growing demands and appropriately increasing the technological sophistication that is necessary for citizens in this time.
Prime Minister Mitchell highlighted that digital inclusion must go hand in hand with the adoption of technological advancement on a wider scale. He said the world is at a crossroad during this COVID-19 period, where the need to re-evaluate and reset development agendas is paramount.
In every crisis, it is always said there are opportunities, and the pandemic has presented the opportunity to reset the developmental agenda. We are at that critical juncture where we can re-engineer government systems and processes through technology-enabled application and services. It is clear to all of us that government as a service provider must reevaluate the services, and in keeping with the digital lexicon, we must commit to a reset or a rebut.
This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
The house was shaking. Then suddenly saw we hear bang, crack, and the roof had gone.
Man, I was so scared, I nearly wet myself.
Only those who have lived it can truly understand the devastating fury of a hurricane's wind.
The house across the road just get up and roll over.
Hurricane force wind. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. You can hurricane-proof your home. For example, make your roof more wind-resistant by using screws instead of nails in its construction. Find out more about hurricane force winds and other hazards at your local disaster office.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency and CIDERA.
Welcome back. The Maurice Bishop International Airport, MBIA, engaged airline managers on Wednesday to discuss existing protocols with a view to review and enhance the experience for passengers. The airline managers were invited to observe the process following the arrival of a chartered JetBlue flight on Wednesday. Marketing and Property Manager at the airport, Lenworth Gordon, spoke to the importance of the process.
We have invited all the airline managers to observe the process so that they could give us some feedback as to areas we could tweak to make the passenger experience and the user experience in general more acceptable. So after this observation process today, we will have a meeting, a debriefing, and then from that debriefing, we will see how we need to change the processes for the airport. Remember, there are two processes. There is a Ministry of Health process, and there is the airport procedures. So what we're going to review with the airlines today is the airport protocols and to see how we could improve on those protocols. The Ministry of Health protocols are decided upon by them and their stakeholder consultation.
Condor Airlines representative Clifton James says they welcome the opportunity to evaluate the process of receiving passengers to ensure the safety of all.
We're pretty much acquainted, and coming here today to observe this JetBlue flight is a real test for us to really observe and see if we can improve. Each one of us will have our own notes. We're having a meeting afterwards. So sort of post-flight, we'll discuss any methods that we think could implement, because despite it's a different brand of airline, all of our airlines are affected. The protocol applies to everybody, whether it's a small aircraft or a large one. So it's a really good idea, and we welcome this initiative. We've taken time out. Many of us are off duty on other assignments, and a number of us have come here today from all the other airlines that fly to this airport.
And finally in the news, sales are going well as farmers and the public make use of the opportunity to purchase subsidized plants from the Ministry of Agriculture during the 2020 plant distribution season. We get more in this report from Mina Booker.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Lands continues in its efforts towards ensuring food and nutrition security, with hundreds of farmers already making use of the opportunity to purchase planting material at the various plant propagation stations. This year, the ministry produced over 40,000 plants, all of which are being offered to the public at subsidized prices. More than a week after declaring the opening of the plant distribution season, the ministry reports that sales are doing well.
So far, sales has been good. We were able to deliver plans to persons that made an application for plans. For this year, in terms of sales, we were able to sell plans. A number of farmers, they were able to get all of their plans. For the opening of the plant distribution season, we had just over 40,000 plants already.
Speaking there was Alison Haynes, agronomist attached to the Marable Plant Propagation Station. Both traditional and non-traditional crops have been selling well, she says.
So the plants that was most sought after this year were avocado, nutmeg, cocoa, soursop as the top of the list. I saw some persons came and requested plants that the public don't traditionally request, so things like in larger numbers, so things like tanka bean, barbandi, sapot. So in previous years, the quantities that are requested by customers are very low. This year, we had a number of requests for these plants. So we know that for next year, we need to plan our production to increase the number of these plants.
For persons that are interested in purchasing plants, Haynes encourages them to contact the various propagation stations to inquire about the varieties available. More plants will be available for purchase later in the year between August and December.
So things like soursop, we have more soursop that will be ready. They are too young to sell at this point, but they will be ready from August to December in at different periods, different stages. We have plants at different stages. We have clove, a number of cloves that will be ready later on as well in the year, between September to December. We have nutmeg that will be ready later on in the year as well. Passion fruit, cherries, right, that will be available later on in the year.
All COVID-19 health and safety guidelines will be enforced during the plant distribution season. For the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Mina Booker.
Thank you, Mina. That report has brought us to the end of the National Report for Thursday, 23rd July 2020. But before we leave, we recap the headline. Grenada now under a tropical storm watch. That's all from us here at the newsroom. On behalf of the entire news team, management and staff of the Government Information Service, I'm Delroy Loza, thanking you for joining us.
I say, nah, man. Wood. Yo, this is the Dan Man Lindy telling you to be COVID-19 safe. Stay home. That way we could play a mass sooner rather than later. Everything will come to pass. You know the tingo. Mass must play. How you mean?
Boom shakalaka, this is Ledneck from the West Point family reminding all Grenadians to be COVID-19 smart. Stay home, it's just for a short time. We will be back on our feet soon, alright? Bless.
Dreaming of taking a break and escaping to an idyllic, happy place? Well, finding it does not require you to go too far. You already live in paradise. All it takes is for you to go out and discover it. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique are blessed with a wide variety of accommodation that satisfy any taste and budget. Find the one that suits you and your family and treat yourself while having peace of mind that your health and safety is a priority. Knowing that we have gorgeous waterfalls, stunning beaches, and flavorful cuisine, let's be tourists in our own islands and enjoy paradise at home.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.